Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and I've been playing Forza Horizon 5. That's right, the Forza hater has got his hands on this one again. He's gone from preview to review, and I'm excited to share my thoughts on this brand new open world racing game, as I'm sure some of you are excited to hear the thoughts of someone who's not really a car expert or a racing expert at all. Last racing game I actually dove into was Forza Horizon 3, so just a little bit of info there to date myself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this game is available day one on Game Pass for PC and console November 9th. Otherwise, if you paid for the premium early access bundle, that's coming out November 5th. I've been playing this on the Xbox Series X. At first, I was thinking to myself, am I even going to review this game? Because after my preview, I thought, how deep can I dive on some of this game's mechanics if I don't know much about cars? But then I was reminded of certain things that were in Forza, and I started to really enjoy myself with this game, where I thought, okay, we got to talk about it again because there's even more discoveries that I would like to share with the world, whether they be in Forza Horizon 4 or just new ones in Forza Horizon 5. There is a lot here to this game, both good and a little bit of that I'd like to talk about. So let's dive in. No story here. Only thing that you got to know is that you are the same driver from Forza Horizon 4, so the game spends less time setting you up and making you famous and just lets you hit the road and get driving, and that's what's great about this game. It wastes none of your time. It throws you right into the world, right into the activities, right into the fun, and I appreciated that immensely because I could feel this game targeting me in a lot of ways. They know they've got the racing game fan over there. Playground Games knows they've got that audience. But for people like me who are, yeah, I'm good, I'm gonna go play this shooter or this RPG. For people like me who have no patience for racing games, yes, I was grabbed immediately because they throw you right into it. And right away, that graphics flex is on display. They're like, hell yeah. It is beautiful. There are so many jumps, high vistas in this world, and it's a gigantic world to explore in Mexico. The diverse biomes, all the variety of races that are fit within these biomes, and the races that you can even create in Event Lab really shine a spotlight on how great this open world is. But one thing that I appreciated a lot was the game is always rewarding you. It's always giving you points. It's like Tony Hawk, but automobiles. So I'll be driving around, I'll fly off the road because I'm awful at this game, right? And I'll wipe out a bunch of trees and I'll wipe out a cactus, and it's just giving me points and multipliers for all of that. And I'm like, okay, hold on, let me get back on the road. You catch some air, you drift a little bit. Oh, my points got up a little bit more. Okay, let's see how long we can keep this going. And it's like a Tony Hawk skill chain, except it's in Forza. This has always been in the game, but I was reminded again of how addicting that can be, because then they give you perk points and you start to invest perk points into all of your cars. Some of them are really cool, like the Halo Warthog. I unlocked that, I threw a super engine in there, and suddenly I'm blasting past Lamborghinis in the Warthog, but it handled like one. It was this weird mixture, but I love the customization and the progression in this game. The loop works really well. The only time it works against you is unfortunately when they really go sensory overload. They're throwing 50 pop-ups, 5 more objectives, the map's popping, people are talking in your ears. This game hammers you a lot, and I think a good way, in a way that excites you, but at times it can become a little bit too much because they're always trying to stimulate and excite you. And honestly, if you're like me, you may want to play it in bursts, in little chunks, because eventually things start to glance off. You start to appreciate things less because it's always trying again to stimulate you, to grab your attention in a million different ways and excite you about content. And while it works very well, I think it can just become a little bit too much. One thing I want to compliment with this game as well is some of the design they have that's very intentional. The way you'll hit a jump and the music will slowly fade out, and then you'll slap the ground with all 4 tires and you'll hear the music pick back up and the beat drops. There's moments like that that feel scripted, although they're not, and that's a testament to the track selection, the way they have built the tracks. And it goes even into, for example, when you're driving around, you see a plane overhead or someone over the mic calls out to you, hey, check that out over there. And the moment that they say that, you're on a good straightaway where you can take a moment to look and appreciate the world and your surroundings and kind of take your eyes off the road for just a second. I like those moments of brevity, those moments where you could feel that the track was designed in a very specific way, where they said, hey, let's give a straightaway here for them to, of course, pick up speed and enjoy that adrenaline rush, but also because we're going to point this out over here to their left, and we want to give them time to see that. It's just so carefully crafted that I think it deserves a special call out, because I think it's something that can go under the radar, but it's a real level of attention to detail that not many racing games have from my experience. More on the progression loop, as you play through races of any kind, off-road, circuit, street races, and even racing around a float, because why not, you'll earn accolade points, which you can spend on these big events. And these big events are really the highlights of the game, where you do something crazy. Again, I'd like to throw it back to the float example, where you can just fly that off a jump, this unorthodox looking vehicle, and it really embraces the zany and craziness of this open world, which is something I hope they continue to go in the direction of, because I think more diversity in those races, in the vehicles that you can use, is going to be key to this series moving forward, when eventually people start to go like, okay, another racing game, like what are you going to add? This game aims to add layers in multiple ways through things like new modes, such as the Eliminator Tournament, which is this multiplayer mode that kind of functions like a vehicle battle royale, to even its co-op play, which we should be familiar with at this point, where they separate you into red and blue teams, and you and your friends can race against these other teams, and provided where you are in the standings, you'll get a different amount of points for how many cars you've lapped past. There's not only a lot of content here, there's a lot of ways to tackle it. And one thing I really liked was when you went to, say, a circuit to do a race, you could choose the created content by Playground Games, or you could choose the Event Lab content within that area that someone had made. Now, I messed around a little bit with some of the Event Lab stuff. It gets complex. Keep that in mind. But it's also fun just to see what other players have created. I went through one where it was a bunch of giant trucks in this tight little stadium ring, and you had jumps on the right side, and you had a straightaway on the left, and you had to drive very tightly, or you could use the jumps to leap past people. So it was this exciting tight race, and whoever pulled away was likely going to win it all. And I still managed to get completion points for doing that circuit, even though it was Event Lab, because I was doing it in that location. So if you don't like what Playground made, or you feel like it's getting a little too familiar, the community is already going to be creating exciting content for you to dive into that can replace that stuff. For me, that was important, because I just need that diversity in a game that only lets me drive around in a car. And part of that diversity comes through cars. You can get them through the auction house, you can buy them outright, you can of course take those and then customize them. This was nice because it highlighted what I said about Age of Empires 4, which is that the HUD is legible here. So as someone who knows jack you know what about cars, it was nice to be able to understand when my speed was going up, when my handling was going up, when my braking was improving, and understanding what was occurring when I was making subtle tweaks. Again, I need to tip my cap for this, because it's deep enough where if you know more about cars, you can take it that layer deeper in some of the gameplay mechanics, like shifting manually, doing different types of steering, and that'll give you more credits if you do so, versus people like me who want it on automatic, so the game handles it for me, and they give you a simple stat layout on how things are handled. It's a game for experts, but it's also a game for newbies such as myself. I know they're always fine-tuning the driving in these games, but in this entry especially, I really felt the difference between, say, you were on a dry road or a wet road, and especially if you were driving the wrong car for a wet road, I was really feeling it in this game, which I liked. I remember reading about it, hearing about it, and whenever I put my hands on it, it didn't quite feel like when the rubber hit the road, suddenly like, oh, I was on a wet road here. It's just like, okay, I'm just driving on a dry road, it feels like. In this game, it felt a little more responsive, or really lack thereof. Again, when you're driving the wrong car at the wrong time, you can feel that. And I was spinning out a ton. I could not control this car to save my life. And I like that, because then I started to learn more about the vehicles, the tires, the things that I should have prepared for certain races. And beyond all the races, I really liked expedition missions, because what they would do is, for example, put you in a little radius and have you take some photos of some things and search for some items in the little area that you were in. Again, I always mention how checklist stuff can suck, but it's about how you engage with it. This is another example where, I've never just been stuck in a car and had to, for example, scale a little pyramid and find my way to get up to that pyramid, because I can't just get out and parkour my way up there or something like we can in 90% of games. No, this is handled quite differently. And so I found myself enjoying some of the checklist nature of this game a little bit more than, say, my complaints with Far Cry 6. So I thought that was also worth calling out, because it was that mission diversity, but it was also the race diversity, where something like I'd say off-road races were my personal favorite because that's really where you saw the skill point meter rack up. It's where you had the most jumps. You'd be flying off huge hills. And I thought that that's where the game really shined the brightest. It looked the best. There was the most biome diversity there. It felt like there was really cool cars there. The Horizon wheel spin is back. I talked about this in my preview, and I mentioned, by the way, on forums, how I was like, oh, could this turn into a microtransaction thing? Do not worry about it. They, as a lot of people corrected me in the comments, hammer you with rewards in this game. You're always getting credits to buy stuff with. If you're not getting credits to buy stuff with, you're getting new equipment. You're getting new cars. They're constantly rewarding you. Whether, as I said, it be those perks or, of course, giving you money to spend on stuff, and you can get them at the auction house for cheap. There's a lot of ways to get new content. So just keep all of that in mind, that they take good care of you here, and it did not feel like at any point in time they were milking me or they were putting a little carrot in front of me on the stick and hoping I'd reach and spend a little extra money. It's very fairly crafted. Also, a very underrated remote play experience. So there was one point I had to stream this to my tablet, and I got thinking to myself, this is great for this type of experience because it means that I could probably pick this up on xCloud, stream a race or two while I'm waiting for a video to render, which I have done in the past with other games where I've just picked it up for a little bit of time. But this seems like a little bit more fitting for that, where I could, again, do like 2 races, the render's done. It's like, okay, cool, back to work. I feel like this game fits that mold quite well. Now, the thing you may have noticed throughout all this review is a lot of things that I was excited about or I enjoyed really may sound familiar. And that's kind of the thing. Forza Horizon 5 is exactly what you expect. It's a open world racing game with a ton of content, at times a bit overwhelming. There's a diversity of races there. It's really well made. It's about everything you expected, and for better or for worse. There's no surprises here. There was nothing that really blew my socks off, but I had a lot of fun playing it, and I think especially with a game that you can download on Game Pass, that's a good thing, right? I think it's good that I had a lot of fun. Am I going to be grinding this game compulsively? Probably not. Just racing games typically aren't for me, but it's a really good sign that I had fun, because if I had fun, as someone who does not like racing games, then I imagine a lot of you out there may have an even better time than I did and appreciate more things than I did. So yeah, to me, this game is a very safe purchase, especially with seeing what happened with one of the latest Forza Motorsport games where they had to take it off the digital marketplace. I know Game Pass is very compelling right now, but it also may be kind of appealing to have it to own just in case they end up having to take it off the market again. But yeah, this is a safe buy, and definitely, if you're interested, a Game Pass download at the bare minimum. As always, I recommend just download it on Game Pass. Try it out. It is a big download though. Remember that. About 100+ gigabytes. Kind of big. So just know this game will take some time to download. If you can preload it, go ahead and do so as soon as possible. But that's all I've got for you in my review of Forza Horizon 5. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to me. A lot of people responded very positively to the Forza Horizon 5 preview. I thought that was going to get completely trashed because, again, I know nothing about cars or racing. But thank you for your open-mindedness, for your support, for your love and generosity. And I hope you enjoyed this video here today. Let me know what you're thinking of Forza Horizon 5 in the comments down below. And other than that, I'll talk with all of you very soon. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.